Sorry. Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here. So thanks a lot for the introduction. Thanks a lot for the invitation, Kiki and Tindara. It's really a pleasure, especially when some of the projects that we fund or that respond to calls that we design join together and organize an event. It's really satisfying for us, and it's really nice to see this. And I want to thank the ULB for hosting this event, and also highlight that you have two colleagues who have been following these projects very closely from the Executive Research Agency that are here with us today. And I'll try, after the great introduction that Lina Galvez Munoz gave you, to come back or give you some updates, let's say, at the EU policy level of what we've been trying to do and are pushing for at our level. And I will, yes. So let's say that really concretely, the push for institutional change through gender equality plans came over a decade ago within the framework of what is our common policy framework for higher education and research and innovation, which is the European research area, and in a communication that the Commission adopted in 2012. Gender equality and gender mainstreaming in research were set as one of the 5 key priorities for developing the era. And this was underpinned by 3 objectives: gender equality in careers at all levels, gender balance in decision making. So you heard Lina Galvez talking about the push for gender parity as well, and integration of the gender dimension into the contents of research. And so sex and gender-based analysis, she also quite talked about this. And as I said, the common approach was structural institutional change, and the member states were encouraged to adopt laws and give incentives to help implement gender equality plans in research performing organizations and research funding organizations. Specific council conclusions were adopted that highlighted that gender equality plans were a key instrument to achieve this. And the Commission itself has been supporting that through successive framework programs. Overall, about 200 universities and research organizations and public bodies have been funded to implement gender equality plan. And actually, the story doesn't really start there. You heard Lina Galvez saying it really at the parliament level started in the late 80s. And it's really the Beijing conference in 1995 that launched some really focused policies that were implemented at the Commission level, gender mainstreaming, and in 1999, really a focus on women in science at the time started. And it's really step by step that at DGRTD level, things change, and there was a big change, let's say, around 2007, very much inspired by what the United States were doing, the National Science Foundation, with this advanced program that was giving money to universities to implement gender equality plan. And this partly inspired the approach and the calls that these projects have been responding to. And here I won't go back to FP7, but under FP7, 9 projects were funded to implement gender equality plan. So the pointer doesn't work, actually. No, that's
no. So
the pointer.
No, il n'y a pas de pointer.
Okay, sorry. So in green there, you see 21 projects were funded to implement gender equality plan. And CALIPER and LeTSGEPs are among the latest campaigns of these efforts. And some other policy supporting or research projects were also funded. So it's a package of actions to advance on gender equality. And in 2015, DGRTD asked the European Institution for Gender Equality to develop an online tool that would take the good practices from some of these projects and give a step-by-step guide on how to implement gender equality plan. And I will stop here, but I wanted to give you an idea for some who are not so familiar, but I guess many in this room are very familiar of how this happened. And it's building on this that in Horizon Europe, after consultation of these projects of national stakeholders, that we decided to step up the game and to strengthen gender equality provisions into this framework program. It's enshrined in the legal basis, and it's really at 3 levels. The key one that you're well aware of is that it's the requirement to have a gender equality plan for research organizations, universities, higher education institutions, and public bodies. The integration of the gender dimension into research and innovation content is a requirement across the program, unless it's specified that you don't need to do it in a specific case. And gender balance is a target. There's a 50% target for all Horizon Europe related groups, and it's a ranking criterion for execo proposal. And we also introduced an inclusive self-declaration of gender identity for researchers. This, I already told you, it's a requirement based on a few process-based requirements. These, I won't go into the details. I think most of you know about it. Public document built on having dedicated resources to implement it, built on sex and gender or gender disaggregated data, and annual monitoring and training, raising awareness on gender equality, and in particular, unconscious biases, including for decision makers. And we recommend, they're not mandatory, but they're really the result of a consensus of what are really important thematic aspects to be covered in gender equality plans: work-life balance, decision-making, career progression, integration of the gender dimension into the contents of teaching and research, and measures against gender-based violence, including sexual harassment. And indeed, this was highlighted at the beginning. This is a key focus. You might have seen on the timeline the UNICEF project. This project was specifically dedicated to addressing gender-based violence, and its final conference took place 2 days ago. And we're helping organizations in understanding. The GEAR tool undertook a first update in 2020, a more comprehensive one in 2022. We have given webinars, developed a guidance to help organization, and there's more. There's an upcoming competence facility with a tender that will be open early next year for additional support at the member state and associated country level to help organization comply with this. But we're also trying to measure if it's really implemented. So right now there's a pilot compliance check going on with a relatively small number of organizations, but that have to prove that they're complying with our requirements. And this will have a larger scale every year of Horizon Europe. And we're trying also to measure the impact of what have been our policies, but also what at national level, prompted in some cases and very much by the European research area priority, how the impact on the ground. Has this approach helped? And the results say that it has, and that the JEP eligibility criterion is really changing things on the ground, and the full study will be published shortly. We also launch a prize to complement that and to boost and show role models that are really champions at implementing and getting results, changing the situation, improving gender equality on the ground in the working environments. And this is the EU Award for Gender Equality Champion. The first edition was last year. Very soon, hopefully next week, the call for the 2023 one will be open. And now at the policy, coming back at the policy level, in 2021, a new package was adopted by the Council of the EU on the new revisited and, let's say, enhanced European research area, a pact on research and innovation in Europe. Council recommendation was adopted that sets gender equality, equal opportunities, inclusiveness as core values and principles of EU research and innovation. Some conclusions were adopted on the governance of this new ERA framework with a new structure, which is the ERA Forum, in which you have national representatives from member state associated countries, but also representatives from umbrella organizations of universities, of performing organizations. So that's a novelty. They have the seat at the table to discuss policy regarding research and innovation. And an agenda, policy agenda was adopted with 20 actions that member states agree are priorities until 2024. And one action is on the promotion of gender equality and fostering inclusiveness. Taking note of the Ljubljana Declaration, which was, let's say, a prior step spearheaded by the Slovenian presidency that prepared this evolution and that was endorsed by 25 member states, third countries, and the Commission itself. So what is this Action 5? 4 key deliverables. 2 are very much about the opening of gender equality policies to inclusiveness, but very much to intersectionality. So that's outcomes 1 and 3, and there are 2 more specific ones. One on devising a strategy, an EU baseline to address, counteract gender-based violence, including sexual harassment, and one that is more focused at the research funding level on developing principles for the integration of a gender perspective into the content of research and innovation. And it also has to do with avoiding gender biases in assessment. So to implement this action, the ERA Forum created a subgroup. And this subgroup started its activity in March, and 22 member states, 3 associated countries, and 14 umbrella organizations have nominated representatives to that group. And very recently, a specific task force has been launched to address the deliverable that we have to come up with for 2024 on an EU baseline and a code of conduct, most likely, on counteracting gender-based violence. I said 20 actions. You might have seen that on the 3rd outcome, gender mainstreaming is a priority. Gender mainstreaming in the other actions, and there are synergies in particular with Action 5, which is on the reform of research assessment. Ensuring gender equality is one of the principles. And also Action 4 on research careers. You may be aware that right now the Council is discussing the proposal from the Commission on a new framework for research career with a new charter for researchers, which will replace the code and conduct that you may be familiar with. And there's an enhanced principle on gender equality that now recognizes that gender-based violence is part of gender equality, integration of the gender dimension, research and innovation content as well, that gender equality plans are effective tools to address this. So this is all in the new charter. And of course, we fund, there's dedicated research on gender equality. These 2 projects were funded under Horizon 2020, the Science with and for Society work program. Under Horizon Europe, it's the widening participation and more specifically, the strengthening the ERA part of this work program. So this is not the only part of Horizon Europe that supports gender equality. You heard Lina Galvez mentioning the importance of supporting gender studies, of studying this. That's a novelty also in Horizon Europe under Cluster 2. They are now called to support gender studies and intersectional research. And specifically, in 2021, there was a call on feminisms for a new age of democracy, which had the objective of countering anti-gender, anti-feminism movements. So, and there are 5 projects that have been funded. There were supposed to be only 3, and there was such good quality that with the leftover money, 2 more were funded. So there was really quite a community, a recognition that there's a gender scholars there, and that we need to support, and knowledge that needs to be built upon in our policies. So on Widera, in the 21 work program, you will hear tomorrow, no, today, later today, Rachel Kalman, who is the coordinator of this Center of Excellence on Inclusive Gender Equality. So developing in particular intersectionality in gender equality plans. Gender Action Plus, I don't know if Marcela Linkova is here, the coordinator, but that's really supporting the policy and supporting the subgroup in Action 5 in particular. There's one project, which is a living lab on inclusive, gender responsive innovation, and 3 projects, 4 actually, same thing. There was one that could be funded in addition, that are supported to implement measures that are going beyond the gender equality plan eligibility criterion in Horizon Europe and opening to intersectionality or other aspects that have not been put forward so much, like gender budgeting. And so there's really links there into the opening that your projects have been doing towards an intersectionality, and the focus also that LeTSGEP has had on gender budgeting. So these are already running, and soon a follow-up to UNICEF will start. More support to more support to women in STEM. So Lina Galvez did not talk too much about it, but it's really something she has worked a lot on. So addressing the underrepresentation of women in STEM, and it's very close to what CALIPER has been doing as well. And coming up, these 2 projects, more support for policy, and again, support to the implementation of inclusive gender equality plan. And these, the 4 that you saw and the ones that will be funded there, the idea here is peer mentoring. It's really about a more advanced institution mentoring less advanced organizations that are in the widening countries. So it's not exactly the same scheme as the calls you have been responding to. And still our Champions Prize, and of course, the production of our landmark statistical booklet on the status of women, actually gender, in research and innovation across Europe and beyond, which are the She Figures. We're now producing the 2024 edition. And I'll stop here. I already talked too much. If you want to know more, this is our website that we regularly update. I will give you my slides if you are interested. And thanks a lot. And I look forward to the conference.